Hey students, welcome to part 2 of chapter number 10, Magnetic Field Due to Electric Current. In part 1, we have studied about different rules, for example, right hand thumb rule, Fleming's left hand rule and right hand rule, and we'll learn about Lorentz force. Let us talk about torque on a current loop. But before this, students, I hope you have watched the video sent last week. Here in the diagram, a rectangular coil ABCD is placed between uniform magnetic field in such a way that segment AB and segment CD are perpendicular to the field B. Current enters from one arm of a rectangular coil and it leaves from the another arm of a rectangular coil. B is the uniform magnetic field which is acting on this rectangular coil. We know the direction of current, we know the direction of the field, electric field. It works along S pole, from N pole to S pole. The direction of current we know. Now we can calculate or we can find what is the current of the force acting on AB and also on CD. So let us first talk about AB and CD. By using right hand rule, Fleming's right hand rule, one can easily find out that the direction of a force on the arm AB is upward direction. See, your middle finger denotes the direction of current, your index finger denotes the direction of a field, then thumb denotes the direction of a force. So by using that rule, the force acting on the wire AB is in upward direction. Similarly, if you can find out what is the direction of a force for the wire CD. For the wire CD, the direction of a force is a downward direction. Due to the upward force and downward force, the couple is acting on the coil and the coil rotates. Now, let us calculate the forces present or forces acting on this coil. We have just talked about the side AB and CD. But what about side BC and DA? So before that, F1, F2, F3, F4 are the forces acting on side CD, AD, AB, BC respectively. AB and CD are perpendicular to magnetic field, but BC and AD are not, and hence let us calculate the force on BC and AD. Here you can observe the direction of the force in this diagram. Here the side CB and DA or BC and AD are not perpendicular to the coil. This is the side view of the rectangular coil ABCD at an angle theta. Let us obtain the force on all the sides of a loop. Okay, the force F4 which is acting on the side BC is given by Lorentz law as I L2 B sin 90 minus theta. Here L2 is a length of BC and L1 is a length of AB as well as CD. Force F2 is acting on the side number 2, that is DA, and this force F2 is equal and opposite of F4. Hence, they repel each other as they are working on the same line or as they are working along the same line. See, in this diagram, you can observe the force F4 and F2 are working along the same line. And as the forces are equal and opposite, hence they cancel each other. The magnitude of F1 and F3 on the side AB and CD do not act along the same line. Hence, they produce the net torque. We have observed that, or we have seen that the force F1 is acting in a upward direction, or the force which is acting along AB is in upward direction, while the force acting along the CD is in downward direction. So two equal and opposite force separated by a finite distance causes the torque and creates the rotational effect. As both are perpendicular to each, the theta is equals to 90. You can substitute in the Lorentz equation. F1 is equals to F2 is equals to I L1 B sine 90. Here L1 is a length of CD as well as AB, as stated earlier also. So this is equals to I L1 B. The net torque results into the rotation of a loop perpendicular to the direction of magnetic field. Now, by the definition of a torque, torque is equals to one force into moment arm. Now, you can observe the adjoining diagram. Here two forces F1 and F2 are equal and opposite in the direction, and the distance between these two forces is L2. So, the distance of a moment arm acting on the force, each force is half L2 sine theta from the central axis of the loop, of course. So, the torque tau due to the force F1 and F3 will be then tau is equals to F1 into the length plus F3 into the length, which is equals to I L1B half L2 sine theta and plus half L2 I L1 sine theta. So you can rearrange the equation. Half of will become a plus tau is equals to I L1 L2 B sine theta. There L1 and L2 is nothing but the area of the rectangular coil. So tau is equals to IAB sine theta. If the current carrying coil has multiple turns instead of a one turn, if there are multiple turns, say n turns of wire is present, then the total torque acting tau dash is equals to n times tau. So you can substitute the value of tau. So it is equals to n IAB sine theta. Remember, here n is a number of turn, I is the current flowing through the conductor, A is a rectangular area of a rectangular coil, B is a uniform magnetic field. Here NIA is called as magnetic dipole moment of a coil, or simply magnetic moment of a coil, and it is denoted by mu. So hence you can write down tau dash is equals to mu b sine theta, or tau dash is equals to mu cross b. So this is the torque acting on a current loop. This derivation is important. You have to learn this derivation. Do you remember that in the current electricity chapter we have studied how to convert a moving coil galvanometer into the ammeter as well as voltmeter. In moving coil galvanometer also we are sending a current through it, which makes a rotational effect, or torque acts on the coil, and by using that rotation of a torque, one can calibrate the galvanometer to measure current as well as voltage. Now, what is the structure of this moving coil galvanometer? A moving coil galvanometer consists of several turns of a coil which is mounted in such a way that it can rotate freely in the radial magnetic field. This radial magnetic field is due to the two pole pieces north and south. The coil rotates due to the torque acting on it. As current flows through it, this torque is acting on the coil just in the same way as we have seen in our last derivation. So, this is the diagram of a moving coil galvanometer. The moving coil galvanometer consists of a coil. The one end of a coil is attached to the rigid support so that it can freely move. And another end is connected to a pointer through a spring. This wire with which the coil is hung and the spring both are made up of phosphor bronze metal. As it is a metal, current flows through the wire which is used to suspend the coil, and it lives through the spring and a pointer. Now, how the torque acts, or what is the value of a torque acting on the coil? The coil rotates due to the torque acting on it when current flows through it, as we have stated earlier also. The deflecting torque is given by Td. D is for a deflecting torque because it turns or it rotates the coil or it deflects the coil. That's why it is a deflecting torque, and its value is NAIB. This value we have taken from the last derivation. Here N is the number of turns, A is the area of a coil, I is the current flowing through the coil, and B is magnetic field. Now, this rotational torque is balanced by another torque. Another torque is called as a restoring torque. This restoring torque brings the pointer to its original position. As the spring is attached to it, it applies the restoring torque and brings the pointer to its original position. If the deflection is phi, then the restoring torque developed due to the spring, that is Tr, is given by the formula Tr is equals to K phi. Here K is called as a constant, or it is called as a restoring constant. In equilibrium, both the torques are balanced, and hence we can write down in equilibrium position Tr is equals to Td. And you can equate both the torque. If you equate both the torque, you will get deflection phi is equals to NAB upon K into I. So from this we can conclude that the deflection, it depends upon a current, and this is how we are measuring the deflection due to the current. So this is all about moving coil galvanometer. Magnetic dipole moment and magnetic potential energy of a dipole. Now, what is magnetic dipole moment? Do you remember we have studied about electric dipole moment? In the same way, magnetic dipole moment is also there. So, let us talk about magnetic dipole moment. We have talked about a current carrying coil. This current carrying coil can be described with the vector mu bar, and this mu bar is called as magnetic dipole moment. If n is the unit vector normal to the plane of the coil, the direction of mu bar is the direction of unit vector n. The magnitude of magnetic dipole moment or a magnetic moment mu is equals to NIA. What is N? What is I? What is A? You know that. The torque responsible for the rotation of the coil when kept in a uniform magnetic field is equals to tau mu b sine theta, or tau vector tau is equals to mu cross b. Remember students, this magnetic dipole moment is given by NIA and it is a vector quantity. So this equation of tau we have seen in the torque derivation also. So just remember tau is equals to mu cross b. And if you remember, in case of an electric field in 11th standard, we have studied that the torque acting on a coil is tau is equals to P cross E, where P is a electric dipole moment and E is the electric intensity. So this is the similarity between magnetic dipole moment and an electric dipole moment. So both have the same equation. Here in electric dipole moment, electric field is present. In magnetic dipole moment, magnetic field B is present. Now, magnetic potential energy of a dipole. A magnetic dipole freely suspended in a magnetic field possesses the magnetic potential energy because of its orientation in the field. This is important. Due to the orientation, any object has its potential energy, and as the coil is balanced by both the deflecting torque as well as a restoring torque, it has a certain position, or it held the certain position, and due to this the coil has magnetic potential energy, and that magnetic potential energy is given by U is equals to minus mu dot B, and this is equals to minus mu b cos theta. We don't have derivation of this, so you have to just remember the equation. Here theta is the angle between mu and b. This derivation we have directly taken by using the analogy between electric field and magnetic field. So in electric field, the electric potential energy is given by minus P dot E. So by using the same analogy, we have wrote here U is equals to minus mu dot B. Now you can consider the two cases of a theta. What happen when theta is equals to 0 and what happen when theta is equals to 180 degree. When theta is equals to 0, U is equals to minus mu B, and this is the minimum potential energy of a magnetic dipole moment in a magnetic field when both mu and B are parallel to each other. In case 2, if theta is equals to 180 degree, U is equals to plus mu B, and this is the maximum potential energy.